Howdy, everybody, and a very pleasant game day to you wherever you may be. Aggie Land has been painted black, and Operation Blackout is set to commence this evening as Mike Elko and the Fighting Texas Aggies host Mississippi State for a 6:30 p.m. kickoff at Kyle Field. Texas A&M is wearing black uniforms for just the fifth time in program history. The Aggies are 3-1 when wearing black so far. This is going to be a matchup between a sixth-ranked A&M squad and a Mississippi State team that has already doubled its win total from a year ago. If you are not headed into Kyle Field, it'll kick off at 6:30 p.m. on the SEC network. Texas A&M is 4-0 overall. The Ags are 1-0 in the SEC. They're all the way up. They're knocking on the door of the top 5 nationally. Now the task is to maintain, to stay in the conversation for the SEC championship and potentially the college football playoff. That task today comes to Mississippi State. Jeff Levy and company are already 4-1. After going 2-10 in 2024, they've already superseded and exceeded that over-under win total Vegas had for them entering 2024. So Texas A&M has got to be on their toes this evening. Howdy, once again, my name Richard Zane, and we thank you for tuning in to the TexAgs Tailgate show presented by our friends at Duck Camp. Just about 90 minutes now away from kickoff between Texas A&M and Mississippi State. Here's what you can expect from our program. In just a few seconds, we'll check in with David Nuno. He's going to be live from Kyle Field on the sidelines as warm-ups are about to get underway between the Aggies and Bulldogs. We'll hear the latest from him as he's inside Kyle Field. Also, we'll give you a handful of players to watch. The Southeastern Conference student availability report is set to come out in just a matter of moments, so we'll have the latest update on that. Luke Evangelist is going to run through some Prize Picks player squares later on in the show. Oh, and we'll also update you on some scores from around the country involving SEC teams and Texas A&M opponents, as there are quite a few upsets underway or already in the books across the national landscape. Oh, and by the way, at the end of the show, I'll make a couple predictions. We'll hope for a better week this week. Just moments away now from chatting with David Nuno, but first let's go ahead and pay some bills, shall we? The TexAgs Tailgate Show is presented by Duck Camp. So whether you are chasing birds at sunrise, casting lines from the bow of the boat, or even catching in on those early Aggie football games, although we are almost at the middle of the season, Duck Camp has the gear to keep you cool, comfortable, and looking sharp no matter where the day takes you. This is performance-driven outdoor apparel made for the blind, the boat, and even those early games when the seats are hotter than the scoreboard, the seats. Well, sorry, I messed that up. Here's what you can expect from the current Duck Camp lineup. Lightweight performance hoodie, breathable, quick drying, and made to battle that 100-degree kickoff heat. Scout shorts, tough enough for the hunt, stylish enough for post-game beers. We'll see if Luke Evangelist and David Nuno join me for a couple post-game beers later this evening. The Essential hoodie, it's so soft and comfortable you might just decide to sleep in it. The lightweight fishing shirts, it's built for the flats, but it's clean enough for the tailgates. So whether you're gearing up for a hunt, a fishing trip, or just trying to survive those warm football Saturdays in College Station, Duck Camp has you covered. Check it all out at duckcamp.com, built for the outdoors, designed for everything else. And with that, I see him on my screen. I see him wearing his black, and I even see the black sideline behind him. It's TexAgs Director of Content and the host of TexAgs Live. It's David Nuno. Howdy, David.
Howdy, Richard. Can I share some thoughts early on this? I'm having a really hard time with Mississippi State wearing maroon at Kyle Field. I know this has been happening for years, but I'm walking around and seeing people that look like staff, right? And I'm like, oh, I don't know who that guy is. Oh, because he's got a state shirt on. I don't like it. I'm going to be they just walked by. They're about to jump me. I don't like it, but it is what it is. And it's a blackout. We're going to have to deal with it.
Well, if anybody tries to jump you, the good news is that you've been going to your MMA classes and rolling around on the floors with other dudes. So I like you in a fight. Dude, trust me, I know all about it. As the editor looking through all of our content, maroon and white is not really in our vocabulary this week because it keeps it super confusing. If you do, it's kind of like when they played Utah State earlier in the year, and we weren't allowed to call anybody the Aggies, right? It's too confusing for us. We're not the smart ones. That's why we talk about sports for a living.
Yeah, this is right. But I'll tell you what, man, I'm not concerned in like a major panic Nuno mode way for this game, but I am, the what do they call it? The risk assessment has been elevated a little bit because I think this team is good. Now they have some injuries that are going to be very interesting to see how A&M can take advantage of that. They have one of their starting offensive linemen, Albert Lewis. He's out, and he is really good. And since he's been out, that ability to protect Blake Shapen has been really questioned. So he's a major loss for them. They also have a safety that is doubtful for this game. If he ends up playing, he's one of their best players as well. But I still think the way Mississippi State can spread you out, the way they can run between the tackles, they worry me. But this is still a game at home that if A&M has reached this level of team that we expect them to reach, they should have no problem with this game. I feel very confident saying they're going to win this game, but it's going to be more stressful than I want it to be. And a different type of stress now, Auburn. Auburn was stressed because the score made you think it was close, but we watched that game with our eyeballs, and it wasn't close, right? A&M dominated Auburn. The score was close, but that was the domination. I don't know if we're going to get that kind of domination this week. I would love to see that, obviously. I think this is going to be a team in Mississippi State that is two things can happen. They might be a little bit emotionally hungover for what happened last week, losing to Tennessee in overtime, a game that they felt that they should have had, it could have had. And the other part is they got something to prove, like we saw last week from Auburn, a team that had, backs against the wall. They want to make a playoff run. They have to win at Texas A&M after losing a close game against Oklahoma. It can be said about Mississippi State. At State won that game. Game day would have maybe been here. Would have been interesting with the way Vandy and Alabama have been playing, but maybe game day would have been here with two ranked teams. Regardless, they're just as good as they were last week with that loss, and that's why I worry about them.
4-1 already on the year. You mentioned it. They lost to Tennessee in overtime last week. Let's go back to the names you were mentioning, guys who might be out. Mississippi State, Isaac Smith will not play. Will Whitson will not play. Blake Steen will not play. Albert Reese IV will not play. And then on the other side, both Scooby Williams and Bryce Anderson ruled out for the Aggies today.
So I'm not surprised by Scooby and Bryce. I was hoping we'd see Scooby, but what the beauty is the way Damian Sanford's been playing, the way those linebackers have been playing, you don't have to rush them. Now, obviously, this is not something you want long-term, right? Like, you don't want your depth questioned all season long, but not a major, it is a hit because of depth, but I think the way Damian Sanford has been playing and the way Torian York played last week, what we need to see from Torian York is back-to-back weeks of that win style of play. If we can get that from him, I think he is officially on his way because the way he played last week, he was unstoppable. On the other side, you mentioned Albert Reese. I think I called him Albert Smith earlier. Albert Reese, that's a big, big loss for them. So now that it's official, that is a big loss. And Isaac Smith, the other. Two big losses for Mississippi State. Two major starters, two guys who make a huge difference for both the offense and for the defense.
So, David, you've been in contact with some Mississippi State insiders throughout the week. Obviously, if you're a premium subscriber, you can get a heads up on that is watching David Nuno's notes presented by Holistic Planning. This is a different Mississippi State offense than the one Texas A&M saw a year ago, right? It's the same system, but they've got the quarterback now, right? Blake Shapen, he was injured last year. He did not play against Texas A&M. It was Michael Van Buren Jr. that the Aggies saw and really feasted on last year in Starkville. What do you expect to see differently from the Bulldogs with Shapen running the show this year?
Well, a couple of things. Michael Van Buren was really good last year against A&M. He was really good, but he didn't have that experience. Blake Shapen's got high-level experience. Now, I will tell you, there's some chatter there that they know that he's their best chance to win this year, but a couple of losses, and you could see a freshman, his name escapes me right now, but he's a young freshman that they expect to be the future of Mississippi State. They're very, very excited about his future. Now they feel their best chance to win is with Blake Shapen because of all the experience and because he knows how to get the ball out of the pocket as quickly as possible. They like him with these short throws, but they haven't liked him on these long throws. So that'll be interesting to see the way they attack the A&M secondary, who was light out last week against Auburn. But Blake Shapen is a quality quarterback who can come here and beat you. And let's not forget, it's only been 4 years since Mississippi State came here at Kyle Field and beat you. Now, that may not sound like that long ago. It was 4 years ago, obviously. But that was not a game that A&M expected to lose. But they were an upstart Mississippi State team. We knew what Mike Leach was doing. Obviously, with Jeff Levy now running the show, it's a guy that comes from that Art Briles system, and he can find different ways to maximize moments and use his quarterback to the best of his ability. I am not super worried about Blake Shapen. I am worried about everything that they put together with Blake Shapen. Well, great running back. That whole running back room is fantastic. Put that in there with those wide receivers. That's where they can beat you.
Yeah, it's Fluff Bothwell, it's Davon Booth, and then the receivers, Brennan Thompson, a Texas kid, Anthony Evans the third. Talk to me about those weapons that you're seeing that Blake Shapen's got to distribute the ball to. And just for some housekeeping, Kamario Taylor, the name of that freshman quarterback that they're high on in Starkville.
Yeah, they're very high on him. Look, Bothwell is a man's man. He can run. If he played at any other school, we'd be hearing so much more about him. And if they're able to get a victory at Kyle Field, watch his name skyrocket. But both of those running backs are fantastic. In fact, when I talked to an insider on Monday, he told me they feel that there's a chance you have a couple of 1,000-yard backs in that room. Think about that for a second. It's been a while, right? So the fact that they're feeling that high about that backfield tells you something about them. And of course, look, one thing we know about Jeff Levy is he's going to have some speedsters out there. There's a reason Mario Craver went there initially, and they feel very, very good about who they have out there. Those wide receivers can absolutely kill you with the vertical game. Although Blake Shapen has a hard time throwing it 30 yards plus, they can still beat you on those intermediate screens as well.
You mentioned Mario Craver, perfect segue to the Texas A&M side of things. Obviously, the former Mississippi State receiver having a breakout campaign in the other maroon and white. Obviously, he'll be wearing black tonight. Number one, the receiver. Mario Craver, Casey Concepcion, Le'Veon Moss, all of it directed by Marcel Reed. What do you see? What do you expect to see from an Aggie offense this week that was kind of held relatively in check, at least on the scoreboard last week by Auburn?
I do not think that Mississippi State can create some turnovers, right? They've done a good job of doing that, but I don't think their secondary is as strong as Auburn's secondary. So I think what I expected to see last week, we might see this week. We'll see them go over 2 weeks in a row. But I feel like if they want to put all this pressure on Craver, which I think that's who's going to be their number one target for obvious reasons. He's so good with the ball, so is Casey Concepcion. But he's got 200-yard games on his resume, they're going to get double covered, right? Mario will do. I think that's where you see the other wide receivers step up. KC's going to have a big game. I feel if it's not Mario, it's going to be KC. But then who else steps up? And Ashton Bethel-Roman had that big catch last week. He's starting to feel more comfortable. Will he be the one? Or is it Terry Bussey, who I thought last week was going to have that huge game, was a part of the big turnover that led to eventual 7 points for Auburn to make that an interesting game. But I think it's going to be one of those two guys that we see have big yardage, and you're like, where did that come from? Well, it came from the double coverage and all the attention that KC and Mario are going to have.
Flip it to the defensive side for the maroon and white. Sorry, the black Texas A&M Aggies, the blacked out Texas A&M Aggies. They had a fantastic showing last week against Auburn. Are we going to see more of the same from that Texas A&M defense?
You know, it kind of goes back to the commentary that I had about Torrey and York. I need to see it 2 weeks in a row, right? I do need to see it 2 weeks in a row because against a really good offense in Notre Dame was able to move the ball a little bit on A&M. But then if you look at those numbers, A&M was able to, I wouldn't say stop Jeremiah Love and Tadarian Price, but really limit the kind of yards that we're used to seeing from them. They did a really nice job of stopping them. What I'm interested in seeing is what do they do to Mississippi State on third down? Because storyline last week, right? They limited them to 0 for 13 on third downs, 0 for 2 on fourth downs. If A&M have similar success, obviously you're not going to pitch a shutout again, more than likely. But if you can have similar success, keep them to a relatively low percentage point on third down conversions, absolutely A&M is going to feast today defensively. But again, this is going to be the second best backfield that they have faced so far. After Notre Dame, I think Mississippi State's backfield is right behind them. They're very close. So how do they adjust to that? And if they're able to stop this great running game, for 2 straight weeks, because you saw what they did last week against Auburn, then I'm willing to buy it. I'm already bought in on Des Ricks. I'm already bought in on Will Lee.
David, on your way out, if you could, as you always do, give me your X factor for this one and a score prediction, please.
Okay, let's see. X factor on this one. Let's go Cassius Howell. Okay. Cassius Howell, who had that sack last week, had the 3 a few weeks back. I think we're going to see him erupt today defensively. and one of those might end up being an opportunity to see a fumble and a pickup and maybe pick up some yards. So I'm going to go with Cassius Howell. And then on the score prediction, I think it's going to be a higher scoring game than we saw last week. 37-24 Texas A&M.
37-24. Okay, so that is not a cover. All right, David Nuno, the TexAgs Director of Content there at Kyle Field. Thanks so much for checking in with us. And now we will do a larger score update from around the country, David, but the one you need to know is 29-14 in Gainesville. Take care at Kyle Field and keep Olin Buchanan in out of trouble.
Impossible. Gig 'em. And, by the way, let me just, Richard, for you. 37-24, which means in the fourth quarter, there's going to be a moment
29-14. 29-14. Oh, you're talking about the A&M score. Okay, my bad.
Yeah,
sorry.
My score. It's 30-24, somewhere late in the third quarter, somewhere early in the fourth, and that's when they get that touchdown, and then you're going to be able to breathe. That's the kind of game I think it's going to be.
Well, I hope we're breathing easy all evening long. Dave Nuno, thanks so much for checking in from Kyle Field, brother.
Thank you, bro.
We'll check in with David Nuno post-game on the post-game wrap presented by TKO Equipment. He will be joined by Brandon Leone, Chris Taylor, and Chris Harrington. So if you are trying to tune into something on your drive home as you head back and out of Aggie Land, check in with David Nuno a little bit later. Reminder, this is the TexAgs Tailgate Show presented by our friends at Duck Camp. But just in case you have forgotten, there's a real-life TexAgs Tailgate going on outside our walls at 308 George Bush Drive just right now. We're directly across from the Texas A&M football facility, so come and check us out. Check out our sponsors, Rebecca Creek, Ashley & Company, Enchanted Rock, Shiner, Half-Baked Cookies, and, of course, you can check out and buy some 1775 Texas Pit Barbecue while you come by. Drinks are free. Luke Evangelist has partaken a little bit. The bathrooms are Buc-ee's-esque, at least as far as tailgates go. The biggest games are on the TVs right now. Obviously, we are keeping an eye on what's going on in Gainesville. And then you also might see your favorite TexAgs personalities. I was hanging out outside a little bit earlier. I know Luke was hanging out a little bit earlier. Billy has been around. He's already headed over to Kyle Field. Same with David Nuno. He was chatting it up. So if you're headed to town next week for that night game against Florida, make sure you stop by. We'll get going around 2:30-ish. Still waiting on an official kickoff time for Ags and Gators. Stop by for free drinks, good vibes, food for purchase. Again, those air-conditioned bathrooms and the TexAgs personalities. A little bit earlier this afternoon, I checked in with some of our vendors. Check this out. Brad with 1775 Texas Pit Barbecue is telling us what is on the menu ahead of Texas A&M versus Mississippi State. What do y'all got for us out at the tailgate?
All right, Ags, we got some sliced brisket sandwiches today. We also have sausage wrap. We brought a little pepper jack, and we brought a little bit of our mild sausage as well.
Sounds like a lot of good eating over here. Obviously, not the full menu. You got to go out over the river to get that. Tell everybody when and where they can grab the full 1775 menu.
All right, well, we're located at 8203 Raymond Slosser Parkway off FM 60, like you're headed towards Snook, 4 miles from campus. We're open Thursday through Saturday, 11 to sold out. So come out and check us out. We'd love to have you.
And as I understand, the main site sold out today. Congratulations. I'll also tell you, having been out there, 1,000% worth the quote-unquote drive because it's only 10 minutes out that way.
It is. It's close. If you're coming in for a ball game or anything like that, it's easy access to get to us and get back to the game. So,
Brad, last thing for you because I know you got to get back to work. Give us a prediction for today's ball game, Ags Bulldogs. We've got Chip and Michael representing Catalyst Energy this afternoon. Gentlemen, tell us about the product and what people can expect from your booth, your activation out at TexAgs before they head into Kyle.
Yeah, so swing by, crank up the energy before you head into the stadium. Get ready to yell, stay hydrated for the game. 10 calories, 0 sugar, 120 milligrams of caffeine, keep you going the whole game. Great flavors. Come by, check us out. You can try all 6. Michael, anything to add from your side?
We got bandanas and football. You can sit there and throw them, do whatever you want.
Black footballs too. You guys fit the blackout theme perfectly. And the drink hydrates as well because I know it's a little warm outside. You got to keep hydrated before you go in and yell your tails off, right?
Always. I love it. I drink them. Drink like 6 a day. They always keep me hydrated. Workout, pre-workout, and post-workout. All great.
And I definitely appreciate you guys restocking the Catalyst fridge
Absolutely.
inside the office, keeping us running 24/7. Chip, predictions, maybe bold predictions ahead of this one, Ags and Bulldogs.
Bold predictions. I'm going to say Ags by 14. I think we're there, but I don't think we cover.
Okay, that's a good win. I'll take a 2-score win. That sounds comfortable.
That's my goal, is just an unstressful game. How about that?
I'll take that. Fingers crossed and knock on wood as well. Michael, yours?
I'm going to go. It's going to be a little bit tougher. It's going to be a 4-point win. We go 5-0.
Chip's prediction, way better than Michael's. Regardless, it's a win for these guys. And, of course, Catalyst a win. Make sure you grab one on your way into the stadium. We got Jackson and Adam, again, representing La Casa Tequila. Jackson, Adam has told me to ask you about the product, and he'll answer the football questions. So tell us about La Casa and about the activation this afternoon.
That's right. Hey, Aggies. We're out here again for, I think, the 4th week in a row, serving up some signature cocktails. Today we got a pineapple ranch water and our signature purple paloma featuring Catalyst, so an energy company that we're partnering with. Super good, super refreshing out here on game day.
Adam, he answered the product, so now it's up to you for the football. Ags and Bulldogs, A&M's like a 3-score favorite. How do you see this one going?
Well, it's blackout at Texas A&M night game. So I'm going to say what we've been saying all year. Ags by 90. It's worked so far, so let's rip it.
Ags by 90. You also mentioned it's a blackout. Reminder, blackout is what you are wearing, not what you are doing. Blackout is what you are doing, or what you are wearing, not what you are doing. So please drink responsibly. Great vibes, good people at the TexAgs Tailgate, 308 George Bush Drive. Come check us out next week if you're in town for the Florida game. We'll probably be going around 2:30ish tomorrow, next Saturday afternoon. Quickly running down the SEC student athlete availability report once more. For Mississippi State, 4 players are out. Safety, Isaac Smith. Defensive lineman Will Whitson, offensive lineman Blake Steen, and offensive lineman Albert Reese IV. For Texas A&M, 2 players listed as out. Linebacker Scooby Williams, safety Bryce Anderson. And with that, Luke, we're going to quickly go into players to watch. For Texas A&M, I've got Mario Craver as my guy to watch. Obviously, he's playing his old team. He's currently 2nd in the nation with 119.2 yards per game. He's already exceeded his entire season totals last year at Mississippi State in just 4 games as an Aggie. Now, last week, KC Concepcion did lead the team in receiving with 113 yards. Craver only had 34 yards against Auburn. I'm expecting a big night from Craver against his former team. Defensively, again, with Scooby Williams being out, it's going to need to be another masterclass performance from Torian York. 24 tackles on the year, 3 TFLs, 1 sack, 1 PBU. He was brilliant last week against Auburn. For my money, I thought he should have been the SEC Defensive Player of the Week. He wasn't. Again, he's going to be key in slowing down both Bothwell and Booth. Oh, and this is also an offense that likes to spread the field, stretch the defense from sideline to sideline. So Torian's ability to diagnose plays quickly and get people where they need to be is going to be crucial against this Jeff Levy offensive scheme. On the Mississippi State side, I'm taking Blake Shapen, obviously the quarterback. It seems like low-hanging fruit to pick the quarterback, but he was their guy. He's the guy that Jeff Levy wants running this offense right now. He did not play against Texas A&M last year. It's a different team and a different offense with Blake Shapen running the show, so Texas A&M needs to find a way to keep him in check today. And on the defensive side, Zachary Tillman, he had 6 tackles in last week's loss against Tennessee. The linebacker has 4 solo stops, 2.5 TFLs, 1 sack, 1 interception, and 1 PBU. He's really the captain in the middle of that Mississippi State defense. Let's see if Texas A&M can take advantage of him. And with that, we're going to get a heads up from Luke Evangelist. He's going to give you some new player squares for Texas A&M Mississippi State via Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best site to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/TexAgs and use code TexAgs when you sign up to receive a $50 guarantee when you play your first $5 in lineups. Mr. Evangelist, take it away.
Richard, let's go ahead and start with that player you mentioned as one of your key players to watch for Texas A&M. It's Mario Craver. Here's what you can play on Prize Picks with Mario Craver. You can go more than or less than on his fantasy score of 16.5, which if it's PPR, which it is, that's a couple receptions, maybe 80 yards and a touchdown will get you there. Or you can go Mario Craver more than or less than 33.5 yards on his longest reception. There's also more than or less than 77.5 receiving yards. You can also play him to have more than 1.5 touchdowns. Yes, to score more than 1.5 touchdowns against his former team, but he's not the only one with a really great player square available for this game. You can go KC Concepcion, more than or less than 66.5 receiving yards, more than or less than 29.5 yards on his longest reception. His fantasy score is set at 13.5. You can also play him to have a touchdown. There's Le'Veon Moss, fantasy score 16.5. Longest rush for more than or less than 22.5 yards. 16.5 rush attempts for Le'Veon Moss if you think A&M will pound the rock today. And then you can also play more than or less than 97.5 rush yards. Of course, they've got the quarterback. We know what Marcel Reed has done in blackout games of the past. More than or less than 15.5 yards on his longest rush, 45.5 yards on his longest completion, 24.5 on his fantasy score. You can play more than or less than 1.5 passing touchdowns. And then there's also total yards at 303.5 if you think A&M's going to run it up today. There's touchdown scores for Berkature, Ruben Owens, Terry Bussey, Theo Mellon-Orstrom, and a whole bunch of others like the both Amaris, Amari Daniels and Amari Nyblack, including Ashton Bethel-Roman and all those other players we have mentioned. So PrizePicks is the best way to enjoy Texas A&M football. If you want to just put a little bit more oomph behind watching these games, I know they get stressful enough, but if you want that, PrizePicks is the place to do it. It is the leader in daily fantasy sports.
Thanks, Luke. Let's go ahead and check out some games around the country. And obviously, I picked these games before I realized it was going to be a weekend of upsets. I took that Michigan game because, well, it's interesting and fun for both Luke and I, the Michigan Wolverines. I think that's a team that's really got the inside track now to be a 10-win team entering that Ohio State game. And if they're a 10-win team, I think they're a lock for the college football playoff. Because who's going to get in out of the Big 12 or Big 10 other than Ohio State and Oregon? Penn State's going down right now. They're down 14 points to UCLA, so you can take James Franklin and the Knits off of that. But beyond that, Indiana, Michigan, those seem like the only four teams. Kentucky and Georgia, Bulldogs handled them with ease. Noah Thomas, 0 catches for the Bulldogs today.
That's the 4th time this season he's done that, by the way.
Yeah. Not surprising. Vanderbilt and Alabama is interesting. Early in the 4th quarter, tied up 6 points there. We'll see if Diego Pavia can pull that upset off, get himself a statue, and get Theo Vaughn a date with his mother. Florida. What is that? Quick math. 15 points on the Texas Longhorns. The Gators come to College Station next weekend. Texas does have the ball with just under 10 minutes left. They're down 2 touchdowns. Elsewhere in the country, you've got Texas Tech and Houston later tonight, as well as Miami, Florida State, an old-fashioned rivalry. The other upset of note earlier today was Cincinnati took down Iowa State, which that's going to give Texas Tech that inside track to be the Big 12 representative out in the college football playoff. Other games to note, Texas A&M related, the soccer team obviously riding high after knocking off Texas on Thursday afternoon. They will be in Norman on Sunday afternoon, a 2 p.m. kickoff. It's going to be streamed on the SEC Network. Volleyball, the 9th-ranked Aggies are on a 6-match winning streak after beating South Carolina on Wednesday. They will face Alabama in Tuscaloosa tomorrow, 2 p.m. first serve, also streaming on the SEC Network. A win against the Tide likely sets up a top 10 showdown inside Reed Arena with number 3 Kentucky. That match is going to be Wednesday, so make sure you pack Reed for that one. Baseball, the fall exhibition ended in a 22-7 rout in favor of the Ags. More content on that on TexAgs.com. And also Trisha Ford and company, the softball team, a 9-0 shutout of Louisiana Monroe at Davis Diamond. They'll be back in action on Wednesday against Baylor at Davis Diamond. All right, game predictions as we wrap this edition of the TexAgs Tailgate show up, because I've got an interesting, important to some baseball game to get to in just about 8 minutes. Last week we went 2-3. We're now 9-8 overall. I got the Le'Veon Moss touchdown. I got that correct. He scored A&M's only touchdown of the year. And the other thing I got correct was to get Jackson Arnold for at least 4 sacks. A&M dropped him 5 times. I'm really kicking myself saying that Texas A&M was going to cover the 6.5-point spread. Vegas got me because Vegas knows. They always know. Here's my prediction for this week. All right, number one, I've got Mario Craver scoring against his old team. That one seems like a lock for me. He was held in check last week against Auburn. I think he's going to go off. Two, I want 2 Texas A&M interceptions today, and I think the Aggies are going to win the turnover battle against the team in Mississippi State that is +6 in turnover margin thus far. Callie Gardner gave me my third prediction, Luke. You want to hear this one? Theo Mellon Ostrom to score a touchdown today. The big Swede. Had a lot of fun catching up with him. Check out Take 5, my conversation with that guy. Luke, what just happened? Luke, what just happened?
I mean, Arch is just walking backwards at this point. Back-to-back sacks for Florida. It's just beautiful to watch.
Yeah, I'm so upset the camera wasn't on you because, like, if the viewer would have seen you going like this, like it was an earthquake in the production room. Luke was so excited.
I can recreate.
Anyways, yes, like that. That's what Luke's going to do when Theo scores a touchdown and Callie's prediction cashes. 4, the Aggies are going to run for 200 yards tonight. 200 on the ground, Luke. They ran for 207 last week against Auburn. Give me a bunch of Le'Veon Moss and company today. And 5th and final one, fitting. Texas A&M is going to improve to 5-0. I've got the Ags winning by 2 scores. Luke, do you have a score prediction on the way out, sir?
Ooh, score prediction. How about regular prediction? I think there is going to be a tight end touchdown with the injuries that Mississippi State has on defense. My score prediction will be, I'm thinking mid to high 30s. 38-21. I don't think A&M covers. I'm going to go 38-24. I just think, I know Vegas knows, and everybody's been saying that all week, but that line is just a little bit outrageous for me for how talented I think that Mississippi State offense is. So I'll go 38-24 as my final score prediction.
Way too pessimistic, Luke Evangelist. Ags by 90, just like we heard our guy Adam with La Casa Tequila say earlier. Our thanks to our friends at Duck Camp for sponsoring the TexAgs Tailgate Show. Thank you guys for tuning in. Come hang out with us next week as we get started for Texas A&M Florida. But obviously, the focus right now, it's on blacking out Kyle Field, Operation Blackout, just about an hour away between Texas A&M and Mississippi State. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us for 30 minutes, and let's beat the hell out of Mississippi State.